Right on. We're live. Welcome,
All
Nick.
right, cool.
So glad you're here to share your story in Rank and Rent, kind of your journey the last, how long has it been? Couple years?
Yeah, we're probably touching 3 years now.
Cool. Awesome. So what initially attracted you to the Rank and Rent business model? And, how did you basically validate that it was the right choice for you to build a business online?
You know what? I'll say I had absolutely no clue about the business model. At first, I was working the same job coming out of high school when I was like 17, and then graduated. And my dad picked up this weird odd job from this one company, and basically he was tasked to make the website. And same thing he taught me is never say no to a job. If it's worth your time, then learn how to do it and try it. And so he was doing it all on WordPress, and he kind of handed it to me and said, "Hey, I want you to try and learn how to do all this." And then he eventually found your course and the whole entire rank and rent model. And he introduced me to it, and it sounded interesting. And I kind of wanted something new, maybe a little side hustle. And so, started on it, started researching, free groups and just kind of any information I could find online. And then from there, it was just going through your course and learning WordPress and all that.
Awesome. Yeah, if I remember correctly, you actually had to get permission from your dad because you weren't 18 yet to join the course. And he
Oh
was
yeah,
like,
I didn't know that.
yeah, he was like, make some money first, get a first client, and then you can join Jordan's course. So yeah, that's awesome. I actually didn't know that your dad found Rank and Rent first. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because yeah, I had absolutely no clue about it.
Yeah. So walk me through like your first few weeks and months implementing the business model. Like, what were your key actions that you took?
So of course, key actions were learning about the whole thing, getting a rough sketch of what I was going to do, which of course was um, start off in WordPress, building the first couple pages. Of course, learning about local SEO and figuring out how the whole entire thing works. And naturally, what I did is the first thing I did was look at my competitors, what they were doing. Now, when I started, um, I still had no clue what I was doing. I knew about it and kind of how to implement it. But as for choosing an industry and choosing a location, I just did it right here at home. I set up a site for towing out here in O'Fallon, Missouri. No research,
Mm,
no nothing. It was a shot in the dark and it worked out well. I was able to eventually sell it for $1,000 a month. But as for research, I mean, it was all luck on the first one, I gotta admit.
sure.
But from there, refine your processes and um, kind of found out what works from there.
Yeah. Awesome. So what was your initial investment, like time and money for that first website, do you think?
Um, to get the website up, I'd say it was about a month, and it started producing leads within 2 or 3, maybe. I want to say the initial
Okay.
investment was probably $750. Because this first one was when I moved away from WordPress and I started on Duda, or
Hmm.
not Duda. It's one of the similar ones called Snaps. Their prices are absolutely outrageous. So I
Right.
bought the four website package for like $750, and then of
Wow.
course you had call track and all that. At the time, I wasn't using any keyword tools like Ahrefs or anything.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It was probably around 800 or so for the initial website.
Okay. I mean, if you think about it, that's pretty nominal, for a website that eventually started to pay you $1,000 a month, right? Like
Right.
that's a pretty worth it investment.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean,
Yeah.
um, that was my first deal, and I had it for probably over a year and a half. I actually just got them back recently, and I'm doing more work for them, than ever.
Awesome. That's cool. So let's talk about implementation and strategy. Um, I know I teach a lot of like different strategies for SEO in the course. Which have proved kind of the most effective in your rankings for your sites? And how do you approach building the site, doing the content, and all that kind of stuff?
So I think one of the main ranking factors is content, but along with that, choosing the right area in terms of competition. Now, if you've been doing this for a long time, you know about SEO. you probably have no problem getting into a more competitive area and spending, I mean, it'd probably take over a year to rank, but if you're trying to look for those quick rankings, of course, good content helps a lot. And we've talked about this in the past, but I've been able to rank a lot by getting into the right cities and the right niche, and just doing good content and citations on the website. I haven't done
Hmm.
a lot of link building on a lot of those since then. I've started to do it more just to kind of, hold my stature in the search results. But
Hmm.
overall, I'd say content, citations for those initial backlinks and signals to Google that, this is who you say that you are, and, we trust you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a huge point, is that research is probably the most important part. And that's actually the first module, if you remember in my course,
Hmm.
is kind of survey the land, figure out like who are the easy businesses to knock out. Because with a lot of these niches, these guys haven't done digital marketing at all. They're kind of stuck in the Stone Ages, and it's just super easy to go in there and optimize a site. As you said, just citations. It's a super cheap service. You spend like $100, $75, and you get like 150 citations, um, and you're kind of off to the races. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest kind of technical challenge that you faced, and how did you overcome that?
Um, this one isn't necessarily a technical challenge, but the first big one is focus.
Mm,
Um, Doing all this is a lot different than, going to work and clocking in and doing exactly what, you need to do because you know that you're on the hour. So many distractions sitting here at a desk working on a computer. You could
mhm,
go on your computer, watch YouTube, go on your phone, go on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever. Text messages from people. It's hard to, dial in a lot of the time. And that was my first big thing that I had to get over. And I think that's why the first project took me longer than um, originally expected. Now, as for technical challenges, in the beginning, it was algorithm changes because, of course, I was still learning SEO, how to do it, best practices. And then Google comes along and changes something, and now you kind of got to go backwards and figure out what people are talking about online, what works, what doesn't work anymore. Um, and then currently, biggest technical challenge that I've been working on a lot is cutting cost, figuring out what I need, what helps me, and what is kind of like, I can live without this.
sure. And do you think my course helped you cut costs in the beginning? Because I know you mentioned a website builder that was really expensive, but
Hmm.
since then you've moved to WordPress. Can you kind of talk about the costs associated with WordPress websites, call tracking, hosting, like all of that stuff that makes everything run, compared to something like Duda or Squarespace or any of these kind of like Shopify, any more of these like platform website builders?
Right. So in your course, you were essentially teaching on WordPress. Now you made touches on, hey, here's Duda. It's a good website builder, and honestly, it's great for beginners. But I've moved
Hmm.
to WordPress because what I've understood is, as you make a lot of sites, it gets very expensive, and you pay out for a full year, whatever. Of course, it takes off a little bit of money, but then every couple months you get that big bill, and it's like, oh, I forgot about that. And
Right.
so now with your course, you give uh, excellent tools and stuff that are completely cheap. And sometimes you'll have to change tools as you scale a little bit more. But WordPress, I mean, I moved to WordPress. I'm using Cloudways, which you recommended, and it's incredible. It's fast. It's cheap. I pay like $25 a month for what's the lowest package? Ocean, or the lowest server?
DigitalOcean. Yeah.
Yeah, DigitalOcean. And I mean, right now I've got like 5 sites on it. I'm paying $25 a month, and I'm using Bricks Builder just like you recommended. I
Hmm.
bought the lifetime package for like $700. I know it was a lot cheaper when you got it. They jacked up the prices on it, but either way,
Yeah, I
it's
think it
still
was
worth it.
199 when I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, overall, it's still worth it. I've already got my money out of it, and it's only been 3 months or so.
Sure.
And then as for call tracking, I think you recommended CallRail, which is what I use.
Hmm.
Um, Call tracking is a big thing that I've been cutting out of my cost, and it's because of all the scam calls that come through. It still counts
Mm,
as time on your account. So
sure.
once a month, usually I get billed on the 25th or 26th. So on the 25th, I'll go through and mark all those ones as spam, and I cut out like $150.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know that they, yeah, 'cause I since moved away from CallRail to LeadSnap. Um, I didn't realize that. So you can actually mark them as spam and it'll actually remove those minutes like from
right.
your account. Okay.
Yeah, and even with all the spam calls, it's all those Google verification calls, and they
Right.
all have like the city name and state.
Yeah.
And so what I did is put like a menu. I think you recommend doing it, putting a
Right.
menu on front of the call. And I mean, they all go to voicemail, but they still count as a number of minutes, I guess, for that dial time. And then if they
Oh,
try and leave a
interesting.
voicemail,
Yeah, so for
but
everyone else watching, basically what we're talking about is a challenge menu. So when someone calls into the phone, to the phone number, you can say, "Hey, press one for existing customers, or press two for new clients," something like that. And if they don't do anything, in this case, if it's a robot, an auto dialer or just spam, they can't actually make a decision. So the third option is the phone just hangs up or goes to voicemail. If it's a human, hopefully they press one or two, essentially to get patched through to the client. Awesome, man. So how do you manage multiple client relationships? Um, I mean, with this business model, it's pretty passive, right? If they're
yeah.
getting leads, you don't really hear from them. So I guess for more of like the client work of like, I know you kind of scaled up into providing web design services, SEO services, maybe. Can you talk about how you kind of manage those relationships over time?
No,
And are you trying to like upsell?
so, you know, SEO and web design are usually hands-on kind of client relationship. Web design really just when you're making the website, then maybe you offer them like 3 months of support. And after that, it's kind of hands off. And if you need something, then figure out a price and do it, which upsell, like you're
Hmm.
talking about, which you always try to do. Um, SEO clients, SEO clients and Google ad clients, it's kind of the same thing, but it's mostly sending them reports. Sometimes they'll have questions about something that you're doing and really just kind of walk them through and explain how it's best practice. Um, and these are, things that Google likes to see you doing. Now, ranking rent clients, if they're getting leads and they're paying their bills, I mean, you can go months without talking to them. Every once in a while I might send them a text, but it'll be like 3 or 4 months in between. Like, yeah,
Right.
everything's going great. I'm like, well, you already knew they were doing great because they're taking the calls and they're paying the bills.
Hmm.
Um, Now, some rank and rent clients, and I've gotten better about this over time, is vetting them. Are they actually going to be able to pay this large bill I'm sending them? Are they actually going to be able to close as many leads as they're saying they're going to be able to?
Hmm.
Um, and at that point, you kind of gotta get onto them, but you can't let yourself get taken advantage of and let it keep going on without them paying.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of a big hurdle new students have to get over is kind of knowing their worth, you know, um,
Mhm.
because it's easy to kind of like keep sending calls to someone in hopes of a sale versus just strictly cutting them off after like three calls or whatever. Um, Especially with contractors because they love to get free leads. There's a lot of us kind of calling them, asking them if they want to like do business or whatever. So yeah, that's super important to kind of know your worth, and kind of stay on them. But like you said, if they're answering the phone, if they're making money, you don't really hear from them. There's a
Mhm.
saying in the industry for lead generation is we're the bill that pays all of their bills, right? So if they pay the $1,000 a month bill, they're going to get all the leads, all the work that essentially pays for all the rest of their business. So, um, yeah, awesome. So, what criteria do you use to decide if you want to expand into a new niche? I guess like how many niches are you in? Are you in two or three?
I'm in, let's see. Now I'm in, 4 right now.
Four. Okay.
And, I'm still trying. The ultimate goal is to find one niche and really expand on it. But,
Hmm.
I've still just been kinda doing the same thing, but I've been liking, fence installation a lot lately.
Right on. Yeah, that's a good one. And if there's a golden niche, like don't feel like you have to say it because if you do find a really good niche, you kind of want to keep your cards close so it doesn't
Still
get
looking
blown
for
out.
those ones.
Right. Yeah. Fencing is good though. Um, I've got a couple fence websites down in the Southwest, and yeah, I mean those can get pretty expensive projects like wrought iron fence, automatic gates,
Yeah,
masonry fence, all that kind of stuff.
most definitely.
Let's talk about the finances. Could you break down kind of your monthly revenue streams between rank and rent and SEO, or anything else you offer clients and your total monthly revenue?
Yeah, so, right now on retainer, I have 2 towing clients, which come out to be about 1750 a month, I believe. I've got fence installation client for 1,800, and then, SEO client for 2,000 a month. So, I guess that comes out to be a little over 5,000. And of
Awesome.
course, I get, maybe 1 or 2 web design projects a month, but as for the recurring, um yeah, I guess my goal is to get to 10,000 hopefully soon. And
Hmm.
luckily, I've had months like that so far, but not exactly recurring.
That's right. I think in October, November, you actually had a 10K month.
Hmm.
That's
Well, great.
awesome.
Felt good.
Yeah. So what's your typical like timeline for ROI for a new website? I know like sometimes it's super quick to get a return on your investment to profitability. Um, and sometimes it takes longer. So,
Well, I guess it comes down to where you choose to go into. So,
mhm,
I'd say without a doubt, 9 out of 10 places I go into, I can get at least one lead in under 3 months. I actually started offering a service of um, lead gen setup, $1,500 up front. If I don't get you a single lead by the end of 90 days, I'll refund all your money. And
that's a good
so far,
offer.
it's worked.
Yeah,
Most, I mean, I've never had it fail so far, and I've done it probably 5 times or so.
yeah, that's
So
awesome.
at this point, it's gotten pretty quick, and it's
Mhm,
not always a ton of leads. I mean, if there's just a couple trickling in, that's still great. You know that they're coming in, and there's still stuff that's going to improve on the website, and you're going to be getting more.
right. And that's a really good way to scale up. I know some people like to run ads, um, but that's tough because unless you make a sale and you collect a check from a client, then you're spending your own money to run those ads, and then you don't really have the foundation of a website or a domain or any backlinks or anything for organic lead generation. So in this case, you're pre-selling the lead gen, and then you're just building it. You're basically spending all that money that they gave you, the 1,500 as like a setup fee to build a website, get the content written, get the Google business listing, get everything moving, which is great because you're actually not taking it from your own revenue stream and you're actually using the client's money to launch. That's a really good strategy.
Right. But,
So
of course, I wouldn't recommend if you're not 100% confident that you're going to be able to do it. Like some people I've turned down
right.
just because I, looked at the city and I was like, no, it's not going to happen in 3 months. I'll do it and
Mm.
not refund you, but I'm not going to refund you because I don't think that it's going to happen this quick in this city.
Have you gotten any yeses from the no guarantee approach?
No, I haven't because
Yeah.
I've only had one offer or one person that came to, or one person I made the offer to, but even then, I didn't think he was actually going to do it. He was talking about like taking a business loan out or whatever, and I'm like, I don't
Mm.
think that's going to happen. So,
Right.
I mean, some work out, some don't. Just with
Sure.
any sale.
Let's talk a little bit about personal development. I know Rank and Rent has definitely changed me as a person. Um, you know, your day to day, like what you do. Obviously, you're not clocking into 9 to 5, like you said. So, how has your mindset evolved since being an entrepreneur and starting Rank and Rent?
Very much so more, well, I wouldn't say routine based because I mean, life is a routine if you're, working, you got your specific steps that you take in the morning, but um, I guess more of a dialed in routine, more discipline.
Sure.
And of course, it's helped with, well, one thing that I love is if it gives you more time sometimes to do like more of the things that you want. And so
Hmm.
it kind of gives you a sense of freedom in your mind, but also sometimes it can get very stressful on you if the things aren't working out how you want them to. And then, of course, that's where the discipline part comes in, and you sit down and you say, you know what, this is what I got to do, and I'm going to get it done.
Sure. Do you have any programs or tools or softwares you use to kind of keep yourself on track?
Um, well, I use Notion for daily task or
Hmm.
even like SEO, I'll make a task list for that, but that'll go over the course of, a couple months. Um, but as for, holding myself accountable to what I need to do, Notion, I write a lot of stuff down on little note cards. It just kind of helps me keep in line.
Right on. So how do you balance the business growth and like personal stuff? Do you have like certain hours that you work, or do you just kind of like stay fluid with it?
You know what? I wouldn't say I have specific hours. Now, if it's Monday in the beginning of the week, I'd say Monday through Wednesday, I'm kind of right here dialed in doing what I need to do. Um, Other days are different than others depending on what's on my task list. Some things have time constraints. Like I said, you gotta get it done, and other ones you can kind of work for 30 minutes to an hour on it daily, and then keep the ball moving on it.
Hmm.
Um, But, it also gives me flexibility to, go hang out with family, friends, girlfriend, and all that, which you gotta keep a healthy work-life balance.
Sure. So let's talk about future plans. This will be the last section we talk about here. What are your target revenue goals over the next 12 months? I know you're between 60K and 100K a year. You're probably, if you hit a few more of those like 10K months, you're probably at like 75K.
Most
Um,
definitely.
yeah. So for 2025, we're coming to the end of the year, end of 2024. It's exciting to kind of think about and kind of project into the universe, how much money you want to make, have it come back to you. What are your revenue goals over the next 12 months?
You know what? I'm taking baby steps. My next well, I'd say my goal is to get to 10,000 in recurring
Hmm.
because for me personally, I'd love to have a recurring revenue stream rather than having a big jump up one month, then down another. The money's great, but having
Hmm.
something set in stone that is coming in, I mean, it gives you a lot of peace of mind.
Of course.
So I'd say start with 10,000, and then I'm sure with,
Awesome.
side projects like web design and all that, it'll get a little bit higher, but
Hmm. So maybe end of 2025, you made 150 next year.
hey, that's what we're going for.
Yeah, let's put it out there. Um, how are you future proofing your business for any changes?
One thing in my mind has always been, and it's been like this for a couple years, is trying to recession proof it. Now, nobody really knows what's going to happen in the US economy, but focusing on industries that are needed by people and they're not going to go away just because people don't have the money to spend on it. A lot of insurance based business models. Um, Kind of like I've been stepping my foot into doing web design and SEO for different dentistries and pediatric dentists because
Hmm.
they're always going to be around. People are going to have the money to spend on it. Um, partially because of insurance, but also it's kind of a necessity, you know, as
Mhm.
opposed to um, like concrete installation or something. You know,
Sure.
like you got a cracked driveway. We don't really have money to, you know, we got enough money to scrape by. We can't go replace the driveway for most people, you know?
Mhm.
So things like that, I'd say.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I've been through, I mean, in my rank and rent journey, probably 2 recessions at this point, and it's, this time around is a little bit different. People have less money to spend on concrete. They kind of get sticker shock, I think, when they hear the price of a new driveway, and they're just
Hmm.
kind of kicking tires, is what I hear from my clients. So it's a little bit different this time around. The first recession, though, it seemed that all the home services were kind of insulated from the recession. People are still spending money. I think it was because of COVID. They were just stuck at home looking at their house, and they were like, "What can we improve?" And they kind of got bored and started to do home improvement
Right.
projects.
And I don't
But
think
yeah,
as for like the COVID, I don't think the money issue is really there as opposed to like if you were doing this in, 2008 or something.
right,
I think
yeah,
they're,
exactly.
very big different situations, but um, yeah, it's always just something to think about, I suppose.
Well, I want to direct people to the link at the bottom. If you guys are interested in joining a rank and rent coaching program, you can come here and you can click this button and you can book a call with me right here. This is exactly what Nick did a few years ago. We had a conversation and he decided to hop in. So if you want some guidance on what to do, maybe you could say a little bit about kind of like the course itself, like what was the most helpful part about getting started in rank and rent? Like, was it a really good kind of roadmap in chronological order to kind of go through and start this business?
No, the greatest help was you, truthfully. The course was great because you made it. And, Jordan goes really in depth with everything. Basically, every subject that you could possibly think of within this course, he has it in there, constantly updates it, even puts out updates for, uh, a different version of it, which is, of course, running the Google ads first, which you can do it either way, but I mean, he teaches on absolutely everything. He's attentive in his Facebook group chat. If you have a question, he'll no doubt answer you. I've seen most of the time within the hour, which is absolutely incredible. But he makes it very hands on and very easy to learn. And honestly, I wouldn't recommend learning from anybody else.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate that. We're coming up on a half hour. I want to thank you so much for your time hopping on
Yep.
today. I'm excited for 2025 for you. I know you can hit your goals and kind of scale into fencing or whatever you want to do. I mean, $1,800 for a fencing site, that's really good, and the
Yeah.
wet or the client is making a bunch of money from that, obviously. Um, so yeah, just keep on keeping on and keep me updated.
Hey, you do the same. I want to hear about your goals and expectations in the Facebook group chat too.
Yeah, awesome, man. All right, we'll see you guys next time.